Don't lose your way, your mind. We have to be as one.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another discussion video today. So obviously Worlds ended yesterday. Much like with a lot of these things, the ban list and stuff like that, I kind of like to let the dust settle a little bit, let kind of and we kind of bring it down to here rather than making predictions based on a small sample size. So first off, we all saw what if you weren't watching the World stream, you missed it. The top 8, we're going to talk top 8 cut from the deck that won. The top 8 cut, I believe, was 3 Blue Eyes players, 2 Monarchs, which is really surprising considering how neutered the deck is. And if you don't remember the OCG list, because it uses a United ban list at Worlds, the OCG list has both Domain and Pantheism at 1. The deck still managed to get into the top cut, and it also won Dragon Duels, which is something definitely more on that a little bit later. I feel bad for the kid, but anyway, we'll talk about Dragon Duels before we get to the final match. So the top 8 cut was we had the 3 Blue Eyes, the 2 Monarchs, the 1 Lanian Mermail, and I believe the last 2 were Magispector Draco Pal decks. So obviously because of the OCG list, Performer Pals are heavily neutered, so most people opted to play the Magispector variant. One card I saw a lot at Worlds, definitely from stream watching, was Speedroid Terror Top. That card is it was in so many of the deck lists. It was really surprising. It was in the Monarch list. It was in the Magispector list because, as you know, the Magispectors and Terror Top and Taka Tomborg are all wins. So that's definitely something to look out for. I know I don't think Terror Top does need to be hit. That's a discussion for another day. But that's definitely something you did see a lot of. You also saw, I know we're gonna go kind of move over to Dragon Duels real quick. Dragon Duels, now, these are kids. These guys are like, typically I think Dragon Duels is like, I believe 12 or younger, 14 or younger. So in the final, we did see I'm glad the judges caught it because we've seen what happened at Prague. I think on World stage, at the World stage, judges are like, they don't catch stuff right away, but I'm glad that, because I believe it was game 1 or 2, the American player who was playing Draco Pals tried to summon Archfiend Eccentric and tribute it to pop his Aether, the Heavenly Monarch. The thing is, he could have just put Archfiend Eccentric, the Pendulum Zone, popped the Domain, and it was definitely a match. But both kids misplayed. The other guy, the Japanese player, or I think he's from Taiwan, one of the two, he tried to Stormforth Aether, but he messed up the chain links. And I didn't see it right away personally because I don't spend a lot of time playing Monarchs as much as some of you guys probably watching this do. But they're kids, you know. But I'm just glad the judges caught it because I understand the players, typically the judges on camera aren't allowed to interfere unless someone tells them to do something, unless the player has a question. And you see it throughout the Dragon Duel match, the American players asking, okay, what is that card? Because obviously the other guy is using a lot of Japanese cards, and even though the picture is the same, he probably hasn't seen a lot of text. So the Monarchs ended up topping the Dragon Duels, so that was kind of Domain Monarchs, I believe, actually, which is interesting considering Domain is at 1. One thing I've always said about Monarchs, Domain isn't always the problem, it's the constant recyclability the deck has. Because I remember at YCS Houston, my Monarch player I was playing it played Domain, and I spaced it, and then right away, and then he ended up Domain locking me later by using Adia he used Adia to recycle it. And I do think that shows that the deck can still, and I think we also see from the top 8 list, deck can still, even with Pantheism at 1 and Domain at 1 as well, the deck is still pretty decent. If we look at the OCG, it's not good enough to keep up with the decks, but it's not, Monarch players out there, if your Pantheism does get hit, the deck is still playable. It's just not going to be as consistent. And it's going to brick a lot more than it already does, which we need to bring that deck down to earth, let's face it. And then, so we're going to get to the final of, which wasn't even long at all. I believe it was, among all the biggest thing I noticed is that, and this was something the stream was talking about a lot, is the constant pile shuffling. When they're at Worlds, they have rules that between every single search, they pile shuffle because they want to keep stacking out of the way. It's just fair place. That's why they pile shuffle like that. they're basically like they're allowed to shuffle any way they want, but that last shuffle when they're between games also has to be a pile shuffle, and between searches they had to pile shuffle every time. So that added a lot of unnecessary time, but I understand why they do that because this is the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in the world. You want to make sure that there's not, at least the semblance of fair play is there. So that's just something that kind of bugs me, and it bugged the stream, but it's something we kind of have to deal with. So, there's nothing we can really do about it. So, back to the final. So, I feel bad for the American players. So it was a Blue Eyes mirror match in the final, which is very neat to see. Obviously, in the neutered format, Blue Eyes was probably the best deck. None of the cards are hit yet. And if you look at Blue Eyes as a deck, Konami has said they want it to be top tier, and they want it to be good, and they think it's going to be good. And I think Worlds proved that that it made it happen, even in a neutered format. So game one, I believe Eric summoned Sage, and it was unfortunately hit by effect failure. And from there, he just and this happened game two. So they go into game two, I believe. And Eric is just Brick City. I think he opened like Cards of Consonance and double anti-spell fragrance, which that was probably not in my opinion, that wasn't a good side deck choice. I feel like for Blue Eyes, I understand the theory. You're shutting down the Pendulum decks, you're shutting down the Monarch decks, and you think those are going to be your toughest matchups. I understand the theory, but it ended up breaking him badly. Shinsuke, our world champion from previous year, actually had a really neat build. He was running triple Cards of Consonance, but unlike the difference in his build is he's playing double Master Pendulum and triple Master with the Eyes of Blue and triple Dragon Shrine, which allows you to basically, it makes your Cards of Consonance live. You can Dragon Shrine and then dump the Ancient Stone and then recycle it with a Master with the Eyes of Blue by normal summoning it, and then you can use your Cards of Consonance. I'm not the biggest fan of Cards of Consonance, as Eric obviously saw the same thing. The unfortunate thing is that his anti-spell fragrance locked him out of playing and of course cost him the game. And the game clocked in, I believe, at 17, 18 minutes, which is incredible. And Shinsuke is obviously, I think we've all proven, he is an incredible player. Back-to-back world champions. Kudos to him. He has proven that he is one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh players in the world. That's not even really close. Back-to-back world's champion, runner-up in Japan the year before. He's definitely proven that and I fully expect him to be at those top tables next year playing something else. So the other, and to kind of go to the end, what does Worlds mean for our ban list? I don't think it means a lot, to be honest. I feel like Blue Eyes topping, the most we could see with Blue Eyes is May. I mean, if you look at the cards, most of them have been released within the last 3 months. There are a few exceptions, such as Melody of the Awakening Dragon, which just recently was reprinted. And outside of that, Soul Charge is very popular in Blue Eyes list. But if you're hitting Soul Charge, you're not really, Blue Eyes still has multiple revival cards. I've never really had a problem. I felt like Soul Charge at 1 is fine. The fact that it locks you out of the battle phase, yes, you can lock your opponent down with the board, but I've always said this about a lot of cards that are at 1. You won't draw them a lot, but when you do, it's great. But like, think about a card like Soul Charge, it can be pretty dead early game a lot of times, and I just don't feel like it's a card that needs to go from 1 to banned. A lot of people were saying, 2 years ago it would be banned, but it's always been a broken card, but never really been a problem. I think Terror Top is something that Konami, we all know Konami's, I don't want it to be hit, but it's definitely something you saw a lot at Worlds. And the fact that they're just the card is so flexible, it's crazy. And I think I'd prefer it. Maybe Konami won't hit Terror Top to 1. It could be maybe hit to 2, and along with Seer and Dante going to 1, kind of just to make sure. But if we're just judging by what Konami did in the OCG, we saw that they limited Dante and Skarm and Tour Guide. So probably limiting Dante and Seer will kind of nip the problem in the bud. And as the new format comes around, it probably won't. Burning Abyss won't be near as much of a problem if you look at something like ABCs. And Dragon Buster just being able to easily banish Beatrice and get it off the field and dodge its effects by tagging out. So, In summary, I think that Worlds I really enjoyed it. I think they put a well put stream together. The Yugi versus Kaiba duel was incredible. It was fun to watch. And I think overall Konami did a great job at Worlds, and I feel like, you know, this sets the bar for what they can do in future tournament coverage. So anyway, guys, as always, I thank you guys for watching my video today. I really appreciate when you guys watch my videos. Tune on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you like what you saw from this video, please subscribe. Orson, signing out.